Hey, welcome back everyone to Most Amazing Top 10. I am Danny Burke. I'm not a teenager. It's funny how that works, but a lot of you are teenagers. It's an interesting time of your life, being a teenager. There's a lot of a lot of fun things out there to do, but there are also definitely things you should avoid. It's just a bit of advice. Don't want to sound like a nagging parent, so take or leave our top 10 things teens should never do. Coming in at number 10, sending nudes. Yeah, that's what I'm choosing to call this one. Let's just go with it. Now this is a very modern teenage problem. For most of human history, teenagers couldn't send a picture to their boyfriend, girlfriend, their crush, or just anyone else for the fun of it, even if they wanted to. With the dawn of smartphones though, that all changed. There have been countless stories online and in the news in recent years of teenagers sending inappropriate snaps to someone at their school for whatever reason, and it backfires horribly. If they get leaked by someone you trust, the whole school could end up seeing them. And as we know, when it comes to the internet, once it's out there, it's really out there and kind of out of your control. Alright, let's tone it down a little bit for the moment. At number 9, we have don't stress. Now there's no doubt that being a teenager is a stressful age. Exams, relationships, peer pressure, and the looming threat of adulthood on the horizon. Trust me, I've been there, it's hard, but there's things to remember. You have your health, I'm presuming, you have your youth, you have people that care about you, around you, and you have many opportunities ahead of you in life. There will be stressful times in your adult life where you might look back and wish you hadn't spent so much time worrying about that science test or whether Emily or Jacob is going to text you back, or both of them maybe. Obviously there are going to be problems, but it's okay to give yourself a break. Next up at number 8, don't neglect your body. As a teenager, your body may be in the fittest, strongest, and healthiest shape it will ever be in. This leads a lot of teenagers to think that they don't need to do the things that adults do to look after their bodies. Eating well and exercising might seem kind of pointless when your body is naturally healthy and resilient, but actually this is probably the best time to be establishing routines and patterns for your body as you transition into adulthood. At number 7, don't listen to people telling you back in my day. Obviously, this is an advice video. Sometimes advice can be good, but it all depends on the context of it. One thing older people love to tell teenagers is that they should do things a certain way because that's how things were done when they were teenagers. Now usually they mean well by this, they're just looking out for you, but times do change and the life of a teenager today is vastly different to how it was some 30 years ago. Some advice is timeless, but other times the only people who can understand what you're going through are other teenagers around you at that time, right here and right now. Moving on to number 6, don't give in to peer pressure. Now, I'm sure you've heard of this one, but wait, I don't mean it in the kind of boring parent or teacher sense. Obviously you guys know you shouldn't do drugs or underage drink, all that sort of stuff, but not giving in to peer pressure is so much more than that. Too often teenagers end up doing things they don't want to do just because they feel like they have to. It's very hard to carve out your own self-identity and say no to things that you don't want to do. I still struggle with that personally, but if you can hold on to what makes you you and do what makes you happy and what you feel is the right thing to do without being influenced by those around you, do it. Always do it, unless it's the illegal stuff. You get the idea. Next up at number 5 now, we have dangerous social media challenges. Teenagers are probably most at risk of hurting themselves from doing stupid and dangerous social media challenges that seem to pop up once a month at the moment. I was going to mention the name of some, but they don't really deserve the spotlight. Basically, if a social media challenge looks like it might kill you, don't do it. Because it might. It ain't worth the views. Alright, moving on to number 4, don't let relationships ruin you. I need to be careful how I word this one. Adults can sound very patronizing when they tell teenagers to just get over their heartache because it's not real love. F that. In many cases, it is real and it does hurt, but, and it's a big but, if it's meant to work out in the end, it will work out in the end. People who are meant to go on and marry their childhood sweethearts will probably do that. People who aren't meant to do that won't. Whatever happens with your partner or your ex will play itself out whether or not you let it ruin you, so try not to. Hopefully that made sense. Alright, I think I got through that verbal landmine there, so let's move on to our number 3, don't drink and drive. Now if you're watching this in America, you're not legally allowed to drink alcohol until you're 21, but for a lot of other countries where you guys might live, that age actually comes in your teenage years. Being able to drive does too. That is a lethal combination, sometimes quite literally. About 1 in 5 teens who die from a fatal car crash have some alcohol in their system. Clearly, it's a problem. If you're not legally allowed to drink or drive, then don't do either. If you're allowed to do both, then never do them at the same time. It's that simple. Moving on to number 2 now, we have don't bully. Now this seems like an obvious one, but it's one that needs to be said as long as a problem exists. Teenage bullying can come in many forms, from name calling to actual physical assault, but the effect is always lasting. A lot of teenagers don't even realize that they're bullying someone until it's too late. Too late can be when a friend or teacher points it out, or too late can be when the person being bullied ends up taking their own life. TV shows like 13 Reasons Why have highlighted the seriousness of these situations. Sometimes the best advice is the simplest: treat others how you would wish to be treated. And finally, at number 1, don't think you should know all the answers. This is something that all teenagers seem to suffer from. Mentally, you grow a lot in your teenage years. Physically, you look more like an adult too. So, how come adults seem to have it all figured out, and how can teenagers get there, you might ask? The truth is, when it comes to life, I think everyone is kind of winging it in a way. It doesn't matter what age you are. Nobody has all the answers for how you should live your life. Everybody was just as confused about life and themselves as you were at that age. People just get better at hiding it as they get older. You'll figure it all out in the end. If you ever need proof that adults don't always have it all figured out, look at me. Don't look at me. Alright guys, I'm Danny Burke. Thanks very much for watching this video right here on Most Amazing Top 10. Stick around and I'll see you in the next video.